Hello, welcome back. Another Stranger Than Fiction book review. You may say, hey, it's quick, two book reviews in a row. I may have another book haul coming. I've had these books for a little bit, but anyway, on to the book. And today I am reviewing Shock by Richard Matheson. I have the 1961 Dell First Edition, first print paperback. And when they first produced these, you just see the exclamation point. Later printings, I believe, they turned it to a 1 because then they released a Shock 2 and 3. So, very cool copy. I actually enjoyed reading these old Dells. Even though it's old and the pages are really thin, they're easy to read without feeling like you're like bending. The binding's kind of bendy. So, I do like these old Dells to read and not worry about, getting them messed up. Now, that being said, they would not survive well in like a bag, getting jostled around. But, at home, set it on a desk or something after you're done. And it was easy to read. Some people, hey, read how you want to read. I like to keep, I like to be able to read, enjoy my books, and also collect them. And so I enjoy good condition. And, I'll not say I'm against having a little more beat up book, but no sense in getting it, these old classic 60-something-year-old books damaged. So again, it's 1961. This is my first Matheson to read. So I've enjoyed Matheson, not as a reader, but as a watcher of the movies and or shows that are derived from his works. So I Am Legend, The Invisible Man, Stir of Echoes. I think that's with Kevin Bacon, like the late 90s, right? And then he wrote several episodes of The Twilight Zone, some of the more popular ones, I believe. So when I started reading Shock, I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting into. I had an idea. It's 13 stories, and they are all written in the 50s and published in the... they're all published in the 50s. When he actually wrote them, probably right before, but I'm not an expert in that. So it's from different, they're basically magazine stories. I think they're all about 15 to 20 pages for the most part, at least out of these short Dell size pages. So very quick reads, pretty satisfying. There was one that's only 2 pages, so 13 total stories. I'm going to go through some of what I liked, my favorites. I didn't really hate any of them. So some of the other short stories collections I've read, or maybe not hate's a strong word, there's none I was like, oh, that was bad, that was rough. They all were at least pretty good. Definitely some better than others. Or some at least I enjoyed more than others. I think, liking them was going to vary by taste. His theme, he's similar in how he doesn't sound like a lot different from story to story. So he stays fairly consistent in his tone and style. Anyway, I thought they were going to be more horror, but it's really a mix. It's science fiction, it's fantasy, some straight horror. I would say the fantasy's on the lighter side. I'd say it's a mix between science fiction and horror, and in some it's not even really. Some are just kind of fiction, and I guess would be the best way. So, the first one is called Children of Noah. When I first read this, I was like, okay, it's going to be like this. It's kind of like the scary stories you tell kids in the dark kind of books. Those things. Hey, it's a guy traveling late at night. He gets pulled over by the cops, and they put him in jail, and it's very shady. These guys have some ulterior motives on what they're doing. And I'm not going to spoil any of these stories. They're quick reads. Jump into them. I do recommend it. Oh, before I get ahead of myself, I forgot to mention it's Shock! Exclamation point. They made a Shock 2 and 3. And so then I think after this first printing, they called it Shock 1. So back to the stories. The second one is Lemmings, 2-pager, really quick. I take it or leave it. It's a funny little premise. Get you thinking a little bit. Nothing too great. Splendid Source. This one's kind of silly. So these first 3, I think, are kind of the weakest ones, I'd feel. This one is a rich heir in his 20s, and he does these little he goes down these rabbit holes, I guess you should say. And he hears some dirty jokes, and his mission is to go find the origin of dirty jokes. And you discover, and of course, it's not just some guy telling jokes; it's something behind it. And read and find out, right? That one is all right. Even the ones that are all right or don't have the greatest story or punch or effect or whatever, his writing style is really good. It's easy to read, but not just like simple. So even like the first book, The Children of Noah, the first story, again, it felt like you're kind of reading the level of that kind of scary, but also got to remember these were written in the 50s. These were written 70 years ago. And so a lot of, horror and science fiction that are written now, he's one of the, they built off Matheson stories. So of course it's going to sound derivative, is because not everything, a lot of writers probably derived some of their inspiration from his stories. So that's sometimes the problem with reading some of these, that, hey, as long as you have that context in your head, it helps you appreciate them. But even then, he writes the atmosphere, and you can kind of like, I could put myself into that character's mental state and see through his eyes. And he does that with writing so little words. He's great. He's a master, I'd say. The next one, the fourth one, this one's kind of, I would say, the fourth story in the first one. It's called Long Distance Call, or I think the Right Number, or something like that, or is an alternative name for it. This one is some old lady who's sick in a house, and she keeps getting a call, and it's hanging up, and no one's saying anything, and she's kind of freaking out, and it keeps happening and happening, and no one believes her, and then you figure out why she's getting these calls. So that one's the other one, kind of more so on the horror aspect, spiritual in a way. 5 is one of my favorites, maybe my favorite. It's called Montage, I guess like montage, but spelt with an A. And it's a writer who this one's great. It's really not even that. I guess it's science fiction. This one feels really Twilight Zone-ish, but very well written. It's a writer who starts off, he's seeing a movie with his girlfriend, and he's frustrated because he's watching a movie about another writer. And that it shows, he's mad. Hey, it shows those 5 years of struggling in like 30 seconds on film, and it doesn't give you the appreciation of everything he had to do, to suffer and strive to finally be successful. It's just all summed up real fast. And the girlfriend's like, well, that's how movies are. Otherwise you be there forever to actually get a real, or just be boring seeing the same thing. He's writing failure. So he's like, I wish my life was like that. And so then without even really like telling you it's happening, it just kind of starts transitioning. I'm like, wait, what's going on? And the scenes are just flying by, and you're just like seeing the highlights of this guy's life in like either, a couple hours or a couple year jumps until the end of his life, and kind of looking back on what he did, what he accomplished, and the summation of his life, and a lot of some social commentary, some, kind of enjoying life for what it is, and it's the journey, not the destination, is in there. I just thought it was beautifully written. It was, again, it wasn't heavy science fiction. It definitely really wasn't horror, but I could see it as a Twilight Zone episode for sure. And this one might be my favorite. One for the books is a decent one. A janitor works at a university, and he goes, as he cleans areas, he's starting to gain knowledge. He can speak French all of a sudden. Someone can ask him a question. He can cite like chemistry and physics, and almost like asking an AI, really. And then it's got a little twist kicker at the end. This one, again, could also be a Twilight Zone episode. Most of the stories are. This book reads like you're reading 11 or 12 Twilight Zone episodes. So if you like that, hey, check it out. Holiday Man, this guy, he can see death, and his job is to go into work and then like predict how many deaths are going to happen. And then the newspaper he works for says, hey, we're going to have this many deaths. And it's kind of got some twist endings to it, or maybe not twist, but kind of the Stephen King type endings where it's like bittersweet, or not really even bittersweet, more bitter, and kind of a kick in the teeth, sort of. But it was all right. That one was okay. Take it or leave it for me. Dance of the Dead. Okay, this one I really liked. This is and it feels it was set. It's written in the 50s, set in like 1987. So he's kind of doing a little bit of a futuristic take, and it's these two couples, I think freshman, sophomore in college, and they're cruising around town, driving really fast, kind of being reckless teenagers. A lot of sexual, but not explicit, but kind of built up going on. and cruising around these streets and like, oh, you've never been to St. Louis in the future, and the girl's like, no. And then throughout this whole experience, the girl is thinking of, oh, my parents said never drink when I'm on a date. My parents said do this and do that, and she's hearing all the warnings her parents gave her, and she's trying to be a good person, a good kid, and not get in trouble and listen to her parents, but the peer pressure and the things she kind of gets sucked into, and they go to this special bar, and I'll spoil this somewhere. Basically, that's called the Dance of the Dead. They call it something else in there. He's got some slang words in there, and I forgot what it was called, but it's basically someone that's a dead body that's been introduced to this nerve gas, and so again, he wrote these in the 50s, so the atrocities of World War II are there. I believe he fought in World War II. Pretty certain he did. And so he's kind of pulling some of that out. And so these dead bodies can act like they're alive almost and do this dance based on being introduced to this nerve gas. And it's kind of like they go to these bars to get drunk and then watch this dead person dance. And just it doesn't feel like it's written in the 50s. It feels like it's like a 70s or an 80s written story. This one's up there with Montage, maybe one of my favorite, or maybe my favorite. It's close. Very good. Very interesting. A Legion of Plotters. So this is really great too. These are just hitting. These are fire, one after the other. I think it's a guy that's, the first thing, he's on the bus or train, and this one guy keeps sitting next to him, and he's always sniffling his nose, and it's driving this guy nuts. And then he starts noticing everything else is driving him nuts, and he's just getting really irritated. And then he's getting driven so nuts that he's going to start writing down on a piece of paper how annoying everyone is, and then ranking it on a scale of 1 to 10. And then he's like, well, now everything's even getting more and more annoying. I'm only going to count the ones that are 8 to 10. And it's kind of it's being therapeutic for him to start writing this down until he just starts kind of building up, and you'll see what happens, right? So, but I could feel this guy's annoyance. You could, like, in just so many short pages, you can jump into these characters, and I don't know. He does a great job of that. I felt how irritated this guy was. I've known people that are kind of like this, and you can just see him start to crack. It's kind of like the Going Postal type scenario, but this is written in the 50s. Edge. Oh yeah, this one, the Edge of something it's called. I didn't write it down right on my notes, but a guy, he's taking a break from work, sits down, and another guy comes. He just wants to be alone and relax. Another guy comes and sits with him, and this guy's like, the stranger, why are you sitting with me? And he's like, I'm your friend. And then it's just like him and this guy arguing for a while on does he know him or not, and then it starts getting the reader to question, is the guy tricking him, or is the other guy hallucinating? And then talking about, alternative universes and parallel universes, and again, another one of those got a kicker at the end kind of things. Definitely would make a Twilight Zone story. I'm going to say that a lot. You're going to get sick of me saying that, or maybe you already have. Creeping Terror. So this one wasn't one of my favorites. It's straight on full satire humor, and I like humor. I like satire. I don't necessarily like it when the story or the book or the novel is primarily satire. So I like it to be something else with some humor and satire mixed in. This one is just full on, try to be, funny. And it's really about how the LA culture is spreading and taking over the United States almost like in an apocalyptic way. And some of the ridiculous sayings, like everyone's playing tennis, it's a disease, and all this. And so basically whatever Los Angeles in the 50s represented, and maybe still somewhat now, and how that's such maybe it's a bad thing, and the rest of the world or United States is resisting, actually the world. So it's kind of goofy, kind of silly. Not my favorite, not my type of thing. Last two, Death Ship. This one is the most hard sci-fi. They're on a spaceship. They're landing on this planet. They're actually not even landing there. They're on a mission to go find colonizable planets because future Earth is no longer inhabitable. Again, this is written in the 50s, so pretty common theme you even still see in stories now. And they see something on this planet they're investigating, so they want to go land and check it out. And they land and check it out. It looks like a spaceship from Earth. How did it get there? What's inside? They go in there. It's a pretty cool story. I think it's a Twilight Zone episode. It sounds familiar. I think I've watched them all. It's been a long time, and actually reading this has really made me want to go watch some Twilight Zone and binge that. So I may be doing that soon. And the last one is Distributor. I quite like this one, and I really wouldn't. Maybe there's a science fiction element to it, and I didn't pick up on it. That's quite possible, but it felt just more just like a fiction story. Like this guy moves into this neighborhood, and his whole mission is to like sabotage this neighborhood and these people. And so it's really like pretty intricate little pranks. Like he goes and meets everyone and gets little clues on their life and tries to pretend, make it look like this wife is cheating on this husband from across the street, and then trying to make this guy seem like he is black, and so this other racist neighbor, he tries to pin that on and get them fighting. Again, remember this is the 50s, so the thinking of a black guy moving into the neighborhood is such a bad thing, but he doesn't say it's good to do this, so he's not like promoting racism or anything, but he's just doing these things to pit these people against each other based on all their little personal nuances and typical, what really hits true is, besides maybe the heavy racist stuff on that, in that one group scenario, there's like 7 or 8 little threads going. So that's just one of them. It feels like it could just be any neighborhood street nowadays. Each of these people have their certain little things in their life going on that are exploitable, and he does all this and just causes havoc. And it's the smart way Matheson did this, and he does this, so he's going to set this up, and it's almost like kind of like an Ocean's 11 type, does all these smart things, and all these strings and threads come together and gets these people to be at each other's throats. And I found it was quite easy to read. I flew through that thing, and that was pretty good. And I don't even really know what the point of it was, to be honest, besides maybe just, again, a social commentary on how people are and in our civilized world, but I don't recall any science fiction elements to it. Just as a kind of a twisted story. Again, quite good. Really enjoyed it. So that was all 13. I didn't really expect to discuss all of them, but here you go. My favorites really were Montage, Dance of the Dead, and probably Distributor. Death Ship coming in close, maybe second tier of them. So I'm gonna keep this book. This one's going on my shelf as a collectible. I did quite like it, and not being a short story fan, this is probably my favorite short story anthologies I've read thus far. I haven't read a ton of them, but this one's easily my favorite, and I'm looking forward to reading Shock 2 and then Shock 3 in the future sometime, and more Matheson. Hopefully, I will like maybe one of his larger novels just as much, and he'll become one of my favorite science fiction / horror writers. So, appreciate everyone watching. I know not many of you actually watch this till the end, but it's still fun to talk about the book, and it's a lot more fun to talk about it on a video than typing up a Goodreads review or something like that. So, thanks everyone, and expect a book haul. I might just be filming it right after this soon. Bye.